They reached the ultimate Big Ten destination, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis for the conference championship. Despite a strong offensive output, the defense struggles to handle the Ducks' speed.
We need to do a better job at being urgent when they went tempo in the first quarter.
Less than 24 hours after the setback, a path is set for the Nittany Lions in the college football playoff, and it starts at home in Beaver Stadium.
It's go time now. It's playoffs, so we just got to keep grinding, keep improving for the other weeks coming up.
The forecast calls for a whiteout to welcome SMU. Whether it's at home or on the road this postseason, blue and white fans are going to be with their team.
We'll absolutely be there for the first playoff game, and hopefully the rest of them too, all the way to the end.
A fiesta could be in their future. Right now, it's time for Nittany Game Week. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Tots alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jake Paterno and Tom Bradley. Well, things sure happen quickly. In less than 24 hours, Penn State comes up short in a track meet with Oregon in the Big Ten title game. And about 12 hours later, a bright, shining path is set in front of them for the college football playoff.
It certainly got the gloom and doom out of everybody's system in a hurry, which is a good thing because it was a tough game. Really good, went back and forth most of that game, but it's great to really all of a sudden find out where you're going.
Yeah, and refocus what you're trying to get done. Take it off that game. Hey, we're going to another place here. Let's just forget that one. Let's get focused on where we're headed.
No doubt. The Nittany Lions disappointed with the conference championship result. Encouraged by the effort, they immediately reset and refocus on their first round playoff opponent in our opening drive. Well, let's start with a fast-paced Big Ten championship game with both teams trading offensive punches. The defenses on both sides struggled, to say the least. The Ducks' speed, especially early, creates some chaos for the Nittany Lions, Jay.
Well, we talked all last week about taking care of Tez Johnson, and that really was a problem. But again, they got the ball to tight ends wide open, and that really created some problems. Just too many weapons for Penn State's defense
and on
to deal
a fast
with.
Track too.
Yeah.
Indoors on a fast track.
Had to be a horror show for a former defensive coordinator watching all that offense running around. The Ducks added a few new feathers to their game plan to help them build the lead. Overall, disappointment with the result, but they do take away some confidence from this title game.
It was the tempo. I feel like we need to do a better job at being urgent when they went tempo in the first quarter. They did run a new type of offense that we didn't see until they got into their base offense.
We put ourselves out there. We played shot for shot with the number 1 team in the country and number 3 team in the country. And, I mean, it just comes down to one play or one touchdown at the end of the game. I mean, just being able to come back and fight that adversity and just bite the bullet and keep going.
Yeah, plenty of mistakes to point out and clean up. The guys would love another shot at either Oregon or Ohio State.
Well, of course, they don't have to worry about either one of them unless they get to the national championship. So the bracket is announced, and it starts with a home game against SMU, Tom.
Yeah, and it is the home game, and everybody said, "Oh, it's SMU." Hey, at this point, they're all big games.
Yeah, well, the committee said they didn't want to punish teams for making it to the conference championship, and they didn't. Despite the losses by Texas and Penn State, they are the 5 and 6 seeds. That gives them what many consider a favorable path to the semifinals.
There are no favorable paths. Some are less equal than others, maybe. But, SMU and Boise State, they're hearing about this now, and that's going to motivate them. Even though it's not coming from Penn State, it's coming from the national perception. And disrespecting teams is never a good thing. SMU is a different team since they switched their quarterback. We'll talk about that more in depth next week. But this is not an easy path. I don't care what anybody says.
The release of the brackets on the Sunday at noon was a welcome distraction away from that Big Ten championship loss and refocuses the Nittany Lions immediately on that next opponent.
Having that fresh start, I think that was kind of the message in the locker room is the season starts now. So everything that came before, we learned from it. We have it in our back pocket, but it's go time now. It's playoffs, so we just got to keep grinding, keep improving for the other weeks coming up.
Rucci has stepped up into the starting right tackle role nicely. He transferred back to his home state from Wisconsin to take part in postseason games. that matter. Saturday afternoon, December 21st, 12 noon, they make perfect Christmas gifts, and they'll be one of a kind. A ticket to a college football playoff game never happened before, and Beaver Stadium is one of the first 4 locations to host a first-round matchup. Imagine it, Tom.
How many tickets did you buy me, Todd, for the game?
I got a few.
Christmas.
Got a few in my back pocket.
Okay,
we'll
good.
talk later.
Listen,
But how cool is this going to be?
It's not the tickets, it's the parking passes. That's where the real money is right now.
I don't have many of
I
those.
only need 2.
People are paying a lot for those, and that's the base thing. But I think it's going to be exciting to have the playoff and see what happens this year. I think, obviously, there's going to be a lot of complaints about the buys for certain conference things. I think you'll see some things tweaked next year and the year beyond. But for now, enjoy what you got. Enjoy the fact that you got a home playoff game.
And we have been discussing this possibility since they announced the new expanded 12-team format. Going to be a historic day, hopefully one remembered for a victory over the Mustangs.
Let's hope so. I mean, it's not going to be an easy game. People are looking at that going, oh, we'll get by this one. Hey, they're all tough right now.
Well, the last time SMU came in was 1978, and Penn State beat the Mustangs 26-21.
I played in that game, Jay.
I know, Tom. That's how long ago it was.
Well, a lot going on. Final exams. It will also be graduation weekend, college football playoff games last weekend before Christmas. Penn State at least gets to stay put this week to get ready.
This week will be a combination of obviously rest and recovery, getting a feel for who SMU is, ton of study on them, and then some self-study on ourselves as well, and then we'll do some practice as well.
Now, Penn State is about a touchdown favorite over the Mustangs. Keep an eye on the weather forecast to see how that could affect the visitors who are traveling all the way north from Texas. Well, we do a little self-scouting in our roadmap to victory, and they use all of their football skills to pick out some excellent gifts for kids and families in need. Why these Nittany Lions are on a Toys for Tots shopping spree. When we come back, you're locked in for Nittany Game Week.
Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
And welcome back to Nittany Game Week. The Indianapolis trip to face Oregon was an unexpected bonus. It's also an eye-opening experience to see that kind of speed from a bunch of ducks running around the field. Coach Bradley, Coach Paterno, they would love to see these guys again in the national championship, but what can the Nittany Lions learn from a head-to-head battle with the #1 team in the country that they can take into a postseason run?
Well, one of the things you do now when you have 12 days between games or whatever it may be is you get a chance to look at some things and do some fine-tuning of what you did in that game. And really, there's some things to take away. Now, a lot of criticism of the 2 interceptions, and let's talk about what happened in those 2 interceptions, because one, you could argue, is on the quarterback, one is not on the quarterback. I want to talk to you about why. Number one, you're looking at here, they're in their own end zone. They're looking at Tyler Warren. Oregon walks a linebacker up over top of him to try and take him away, and then these 2 linebackers are looking at the back. So when the back goes this way, it frees up that linebacker to help on Warren on the crossing route, which then takes that away, and now you got to go to the third one. Tom, I know we used to call that banjo. You used to love that as a coverage with the safety over the top.
We sure did if you had the right guys to play it underneath.
Right.
And didn't get in the wrong mismatch.
And it creates a situation where Drew's actually making the right read here. He just gets the ball slightly behind, and it is a game of inches, and that's what costs him on this one. You can see he's got a chance to get that in on the front shoulder. If he does, it's a first down, but it's the right read, right decision at the right time. Now, let's talk about the other interception at the end of the game. Now, one of the things you got to realize when you play at an NFL field, these are NFL numbers. So you see these little marks, those are the NCAA numbers. So the guys got to know where they're lining up. This is what we call the landing zone on deep passes. It's 5 yards. We used to put a line on the practice field, and when we ran our streaks, we never wanted our guys to be inside that landing zone before the ball was thrown so you could fade them over. Now, Tom, you'll see on the next one, if you go to the next screenshot, you'll see when this ball is thrown, they're already in the landing zone. That allows the cornerback to do what when you take that arc release?
He can just squeeze him into the sideline, squeeze him into the out of bounds, and lean into him. And now that throw, there's nowhere to go with the throw,
right?
Because he didn't give the quarterback a chance.
No question. And when the guy gets vertical, I may be even with you, but as a quarterback, I have 5 yards to put over your outside shoulder and allow you to fade it, but he doesn't have that.
But here's the other thing too: people sometimes don't realize that they blame it on the quarterback. It's not always the quarterback's fault. The receiver has to help him. He has to give him a place to be able to throw the ball against that kind of coverage, especially.
No question. And again, that's one of those things, not always the quarterback's fault. Now let's talk about something they did really, really well. Oregon was playing a lot of two safety high. We talked about that. Here's a situation where they've essentially got 3 defenders on those 2 guys, partly because Warren's there. I mean, I'd put 5 guys over to cover him. And then they got 3 over 2 here, which now, Tom, that leaves you with a linebacker against Nick Singleton. And how dangerous is he in the pass game?
Well, they've done a great job with those running backs in the pass game, and that's something a lot of people don't even account for the back sometimes. But these 2 guys, you better know, they run really good routes.
Yeah, as you watch in the video, these safeties come off to go 3-on-2 and 3-on-2, and there's nobody over the top. And Drew does a great job getting this out early, too. They don't wait a long time for this throw. You can see this ball, as soon as he sees that that ball's out of his hands before Singleton has even cleared the linebacker.
Well, did you see what the linebacker did? He overplayed it, too, and Nick took it right back inside, which is great on his part.
Now let's take a look at a 3rd down. Penn State did a great job on 3rd downs. Their receivers did not necessarily make the big plays on the outside on the fades that we talked about, but they did a good job coming underneath. Now, here what you got is they're going to blitz. They're going to drop him out of here. Again, Tyler Warren comes here and he takes 2 defenders with him. And now it's 3rd and 16. They end up, Oregon gives them the underneath throw, but give the receiver credit for catching the ball and making the play, Tom. And that's frustrating.
It is very frustrating. And I'll tell you, it was a really, if you look at the route running was precise. You knew where the down marker was. You got there and give a lot of credit on that one.
Yep, no question. So let's take a look at defensively. Defensively, not one of Penn State's better games. One of the things Oregon did early on in the game was they wanted to establish the run. They got out here and they started reaching on people and they got after them and really went at the defensive ends. You know, the Penn State's defensive ends, size-wise, are a little bit undersized. They went at them, and the wide receivers, Tom, they go unbalanced, which puts pressure, and they did a great job blocking downfield with the wideouts.
I think the other thing that got this thing a little bit out of whack was the unbalanced set.
Yeah. But they really attacked those edges, and again, you can see those wideouts blocking downfield, and they did a good job. Now, once you establish the run game, and Oregon clearly came out with the idea, let's get the run game going. And if you look, they're going to play action up. They get the run fake here. The defensive end loses contain, and now one of the things Dylan Gabriel did a great job when he scrambled. His eyes were downfield looking for throws, and here they end up with 3-on-2 over here, which leaves Tez Johnson, the guy you don't want to leave alone, open in the middle of the field, Tom. And how impressive was he in terms of acceleration, change of direction?
They don't make him any better than he's a special player. Let's just put it that way.
And you got to give Dylan Gabriel credit because he really moved around the pocket well and got the ball precisely to guys where they could do things after, especially him.
Thank you, coaches. Of course, the players spent the majority of last week preparing for Oregon in the conference title game. They were also happy to donate some of their time to go Christmas shopping for families in need. We tag along with the Nittany Lions as they execute their shopping spree game plan. They're quick, agile, tall, and strong. All perfect traits to pick out the best gifts for thousands of kids in the Toys for Tots program.
I just thought it was an amazing opportunity. Obviously, you know, as a kid, Christmas is super important, and you know, every kid wants one specific thing, always one specific thing. Just provide, you know, kids who maybe are a little bit less fortunate that wouldn't be able to have, you know, a bunch of great presents on Christmas, to just maybe get one specific thing that they really wanted on their list.
It's just so much fun to watch them because I think for them, they're having a good time, but they know what the mission is behind this. We talked about all the kids that are in need all around central Pennsylvania, and they really took that to heart.
After they break the huddle, these big guys show off their big hearts. West Shore Homes sponsored the shopping spree at a Target store in State College. The Nittany Lions appreciate the chance to use their time and skills to help those in need.
Got 3 little sisters and the older brothers, like everybody, different ages, everybody getting different stuff. But like my parents did a great job with giving us the things we wanted, So Christmas was never a dull moment. People was thinking that we might need help in the girls section or looking for girls. So I'm like, nah, I got this.
And what are the things that take you back? Was there anything that jumped out at you?
Oh man, we kind of talked about it a little bit. I always wanted a dirt bike, but after the dirt bike was always a remote control car. I was always a big remote control car kid, and just walking through that aisle, we had to pick up a couple of those on the way too.
Definitely the WWE action figures. Growing up, I had the big arena, probably had like 50, 60 guys. Me and my brother, a couple of my neighborhood friends, we just sit in the house all day and play with them. That and Beyblades.
Well, the money used to shop with was donated by West Shore Homes executive team. The toys will be distributed to the Harrisburg Toys for Tots program. And just ahead, we call them our impact interviews, and you only get to see portions of them on the program each week. The rest reside on our website. Some of the great questions and answers we've had with our guests that are impactful. Coming up next after a short break.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
This is normally the time of the show where we introduce our Impact Interview guest. And we are fortunate we've had a long list of people willing to talk with us about football and life in general. And since we have a limited window for the program, you don't always get to hear everything that they have to say. And here's a portion you may have missed of some of our most impactful interviews.
There's just a number of amazing weekends in the SEC, and we can go on and on, but if a bunch of those teams end up with 3 losses, does that open the door for more ACC teams, or do you reward the strength of schedule? How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think it very much depends. I think the SEC is probably 5 or 6 deep with playoff contenders, and I think at least 3 SEC teams will get in. I think 4 is probable. I think 5 is possible. I look at the Big Ten. I think at least 3 will get in. I think 4 is possible. I think 5 is highly unlikely. Big 12, I think 2 is possible, but highly unlikely. And I think 2 in the ACC is possible, but not probable.
Let's talk cars and speed for a second. How did you get hooked, and what's the best part of that hobby?
Oh, man. So I think I credit my dad with it. He loved cars. So growing up, we were always going to car shows, but he loved European cars. We had Alfa Romeos and things like that. And I think through him, was exposed to just love of those fast cars and machines, but I developed my own love for muscle cars growing up there in California. And the 72 Mach 1 was always my dream car. It was my screensaver in school. And I asked my parents for one, and they were like, no, you're getting a Volvo station wagon. We'd like you to survive. So eventually it was after law school that I was able to finally locate one in the West Coast, no salt undercarriage, and was able to get it.
Look, your family is next level, all right? You got you winning a Super Bowl. Your brother Gabe was in the Final Four with George Mason. Your brother Levi won the Big 12 title at Baylor, and your brother-in-law Michael Taylor won a World Series with the Nationals. Is it basketball pickup games? Is it Monopoly? Give us an inside look at your family, at when the competitive juices start flowing the most when you all get together.
It's when a basketball rolls out on the court. I mean, that's for sure. That's when the hard fouls come out, the emotion. And it's always been that way. I mean, for my older brother and I, we're a year apart. That started when we were 4 and 5 years old playing on the little Tykes hoops. I mean, I was usually the one that would end up crying at the end of the game. But, that's definitely what a big part of what built me is those competitive moments in the family.
These are just a few examples of what you may have missed from our full Impact interviews this season. Make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire conversations with our weekly guests, along with other web-exclusive content like our depth chart and Nittany Game Week podcast. Still have to hand out our Scrap Metal Award. This week's is more of a throwback edition, monumental day for a former PSU great. Tom honors a linebacking legend. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
The Nittany Game Week Depth Chart is brought to you by Burke and Bradley Orthopedics. Located in Pittsburgh, Burke and Bradley Orthopedics is a comprehensive sports medicine practice, providing patients with the most current and innovative approaches in diagnosis and treatment. Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are Inn, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit thewearein.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
When you think about the other names, the other Penn State legends that are in the College Football Hall of Fame, those guys are immortal. Jack Ham, LeVar Arrington. I mean, those are the guys that we grew up saying that, man, that's who you want to be. So to be a part of that, it still doesn't feel quite right. Only because you have so much respect and appreciation for those guys that, man, you just still starstruck.
A bit of a throwback scrap metal. One of your guys, Tom, is a college Hall of Famer, Paul Puzzley. You recruited him out of Hopewell High School.
Sure, it feels right, Paul, because you belong. You're one of the truly greats at Penn State, not only as a football player, but if you look at him academically, all the different things he's done over the course of his career, and of course, he's also a Hall of Fame person.
No doubt about it. Could not be prouder. Could not be anyone more deserving of this than him. Okay, it's trivia time. Last week's question, Penn State and Oregon have played 4 times, twice in bowl games. Which bowl games were they? The Liberty Bowl and the Rose Bowl. Let's talk about this week. In 1921, Penn State played its first ever December game in a 21-7 win at Washington. Next week will mark just the 5th Penn State December game in Beaver Stadium. Who did Penn State play in their first ever December home game, and what year was it, Todd?
That is a good question. Make sure you check out our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com. The depth chart is a collection of businesses that support the show, provide our viewers with places to eat, travel and shop, or professional services owned and operated by people with a special connection to Penn State. And it's always more convenient when you can find everything in one place. For us, that location is NittanyGameWeek.com. Watch full episodes after they air from this year and our previous seasons, impact interviews, and other web-exclusive content like the Nittany Game Week podcast. Well, we always finish with some pride picks. Make sure you submit your friends and family pictures on our website and show us your spirit. Keep an eye out for the Michigan fan that says you're very welcome. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.